Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Two Girls, One Pod. I am Angie.
I'm Yvie.
Or Angela Bernice Kent.
Angela
actually,
Bernice.
if you some would like to call. And I'm recording, not filming, on Turrbal land.
She is Angela Bernice Kent. I'm Yvie Jones, and I'm recording on Wurundjeri land. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. This is very exciting today. Why is it exciting today?
Yes.
God, that was annoying.
Well, we're very excited because...
Why are we excited today?
We're so excited. We've gone nuts. We're kindergarten teachers. Today we're chatting to self-described body love activist. I love that title.
Yeah, me too.
April Helene Horton.
Yep.
I love the name too.
And you all might know her as the Bodzilla on Instagram.
She's been featured on screens on the SBS show Insight and the doco What Does Australia Really Think About? Or you may have heard her on ABC Radio Triple J and tons of other podcasts,
That's
including
right.
Us Today. Yes.
She was on my podcast Chickstree a couple of years ago. She was.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, I loved her on that. She was on Australia's first plus-size bikini billboard.
How good.
Mm-hmm.
And earlier this year, she was a panelist on Stories from the Bodies That Positivity Left Behind at the 2023 All About Women's Festival.
And we have her here today. Welcome, April.
It feels so weird to call you April because I always just see you as the Bodzilla. So when I say your name is April, I'm like, oh, wait, did I make that up? No. Her name can't be the Bodzilla. She has a real name and it's April.
I've got a few of my pals now just call me Bods. I'm like, it's really
Bods.
sinking in now. 3 years on, I'm like, that's me. I should have worn, I have a shirt with
nickname.
Godzilla on the front. I should have worn that. But that would have really thrown you off.
Well, no, we'll have to have you on again and you can wear it.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
there's always
Okay, I'll pop it in my
reasons
diary.
why.
Silver lining.
Silver linings and all of that. It's so wonderful to have you on. We adore you. We adore
We do.
you.
It's so mutual.
You now you became the Bodzilla. That was a self-titled name, wasn't it, on Instagram? How long ago?
So 3 years ago, it was funny. So I worked with a photographer that I knew who lives locally here in Canberra, and she was actually the one. We were spitballing. We were having a conversation about the fact that she'd originally said to me, I love these things that you post because interspersed with all my random, pictures of avocado toast or whatever it is that we were posting back then, was some stuff that I'd posted about body image and how I felt about my body and resharing things. And she's like, that really is an interesting subject. I feel like you should share about that more. And so I decided that I wanted to really embrace the passion I had for kind of speaking out about these things because I've always been that person in my life who calls people in conversation being like, oh, are we still doing that or saying that? I don't know. And she was saying babe, bod, body boss. She was throwing out all these words and then she's like, Bodzilla. I was like, stop, we're done. Send that one straight to the presses. I knew straight away that was it. That was a vibe. And so I rebranded my Insta. It was actually on my birthday because I thought that was one I can't forget, because I was hoping that it would be a great success. And here we are. Now they call me Bods. So
I love it. It's the perfect name.
thank you. Yes.
Shall we get into some of these discussion questions? I feel like we've got some real goodies and I want to smash some of them out. Your one's first, Yvie Jones. Why don't you get into your one?
I'd just like to know, this is how I came to know you because you were on a huge billboard in Melbourne. Is that right? Were you in
2021.
Melbourne? It was because I
Street
saw
Mall.
it and
Biggest billboard in Australia.
it was so amazing. You in a bikini. And it honestly made me cry when I saw it because I'm a fat woman and I saw another fat woman representing, and not just in this is what for me really got me. You weren't in plus size swimwear, which was pulling you in, or, you were in a fucking bikini. You were in a bikini and that is just not allowed for fat-sized bodies. So I was so overwhelmed and emotional when I saw it. What was it like for you? How did that come about, and what was it like for you to actually see it?
It was incredible. So the actual plan came about because SBS was looking for talent for their show, What Does Australia Really Think? It was the 3-part series where there was Noni Hazelhurst, Kurt Fernley, and Casey Donovan hosting an episode each about a particular subject. And so we teamed up with Marsha from Curvy Swimwear, who was the amazing brand that we worked with. And so Marsha agreed for me to do a shoot for the campaign, and we called the campaign Beach Please, which I'm pretty sure I thought of that. And
That's very clever.
well,
You're like, I've got to throw that in there.
I'm not sure it's very
I
clever,
love
but
it.
it seemed clever at the time. And so, and the message being, we wanted women to come back to the beach, please. So we wanting to encourage people who'd felt excluded from both from the swimwear market, but also from the beach scene, because we know that there's lots of people out there who'll say, oh, I don't like going to the beach. The truth is they don't like what it feels like when they're at the beach and they feel like they're being looked at or whatever. So, we teamed up with Marsha and we created this campaign, which was shot by the incredible Jez Smith, who some people might know as one of the judges, from reality TV, but also incredible photographer who's worked with some all-stars. And so I got to have my photo taken by the same person who's taken like Serena Williams photos. I was like, what? We went to
so good.
Cronulla Beach. Yeah, it was amazing. My call time was 3 a.m. and that was fine because we got through the sunrise photographs, we got through shooting the TV episode as well. And so the photographs that were taken on the beach that day we used for the Billboard campaign, which they then captured the response as part of the TV show. So it was incredible. We did the original shot. So the shot that was actually used on the Billboard was an early morning one, but we stayed on the beach and did more shooting during the day so that we could get vox pops from different people passing by. And for the most part, like the people were like, yeah, good on her. Good on her. And there was a few people who were a bit, with their usual thoughts and opinions. I'm like, okay. I can't say no one asked you because we did literally ask you and stick a microphone in your face. So,
Yeah.
it was incredible. And the best part was that actually when we got to the point where the images had been shot and then the selects came through, they offered me different ones. And it's funny that you say about the plus size swimwear. One of the other options was more of a 2-piece with a high waist and a 1-piece as well with a cute little jig at the front. And it was sort of like, which one do you want? I was like, the bikini, because it doesn't mean anything if you don't use the shot that's like people are going to go, oh my God, am I actually seeing that? Yes, a fat girl on a billboard is still not what you see every day of the week, but we want it to be talked about. We want people to get, because the campaign was about awareness and it was about understanding the fact that we don't have to be limited or palatable or set up in a certain way to be okay. And so seeing that billboard was amazing. It was so great because I got to take my family. So we got to see the billboard for the first time together. And I said to my son, who's that? He's like, it's Mum. And I said, and what am I doing? He goes, you're at the beach. That's it. That's what that's
all
what
he
kids
saw.
see.
It's just mum happy at the beach. Yes.
At the beach.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
It's like we're taught, aren't we, that anything we're taught from such a young age where we see things and we just think everything's so beautiful, and then we hit a certain age and it's like we notice skin color, we notice weight, we notice ugly, pretty, big, small, and to get a real raw answer, or sit a kid in front of something, see a happy face, see someone at the beach, and that's all they see, and that's so beautiful.
Interesting, Angie, that you've just said that, because we've just this week been talking about the Bluey episode.
Yes.
And I think this is a really great discussion to have with April, because what you just said then was your son looked up and saw you, and all he saw was how beautiful you were. And a lot of people are not getting the particulars of the Bluey episode. For everyone that hasn't understood what's been going on this week, people are up in arms about a Bluey episode where is it Chili who was holding his tummy?
No, it was Bear. So it starts with Bandit, but Chili then joins in. There's a kind of repeated thing of them going, oh man, when they step on the scale.
Yes, that's right. And so Bandit kind of isn't happy with the way his body's looking, and he gives his tummy a bit of a squeeze and he's not happy about it. And exactly what Angie just said then, that your son was looking at you and how much we just take in. A lot of people I found in the comments that didn't understand what the big deal was exactly what we've just said. What your son, April, looked up and saw you. Our children look up and they see their parent holding their tummy and not being happy with it. The thing that I really want people to understand is what the child is saying is the most perfect person that they've ever known in their tiny life being unhappy with them, and they do not understand why are you angry at you when you are so perfect. And that opens up a whole array of, this is where it starts. This is exactly where body shaming starts. What did you think about that, April?
My thinking around it was very much what you're saying around what they see, because I thought lots of people in the comments were saying this same kind of thing. Oh, it's a normal day at my house. That's just what you do. Like, it's very normal. Not in this house, it isn't. We don't even own a scale, because that's not for me something that I want to engage with. I have a very unhealthy relationship with scales, and I don't want them anywhere near me. So my child has never seen me looking at my body going, oh, I'm not happy with myself. In fact, we had a great conversation the other day talking about butts, and he's like, Mum, you have a big fat butt, something to that effect, which I do. There's a whole song about it. Jason Derulo wrote it. And I said, yeah, it's a good butt. Like, it's a great butt. He goes, why is it good? Well, I said, well, it's not bad. He goes, he said something along the lines of, I don't have a big butt. I was like, yeah, it would be pretty weird if you had my butt and I had your butt. So I feel like we've got the best butts that we should have. And that's it. That's all it needs to be.
Yes. Right? Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And I think then if people are dismissing the importance of a conversation where, my husband says, oh, Bandit Healer makes me want to be a better dad, because he's a dad who plays, he's a dad who does his part, he's a dad who's involved and interested, doing the bare minimum. And so I think that
stock standard,
for dads,
bare minimum daddy.
Right, dads who think that Bandit Healer is aspirational, are we then saying to them, you should also aspire to shame your body in front of your kids? Because that doesn't feel like a message I want us to be putting out in 2023. And we know that the narrative around the way women feel about their bodies postpartum is a whole nother thing. But to have the two parents both in agreement that they need to improve themselves because of how much they weigh, and doing that in front of Bluey and Bingo is unhealthy. And if that's normal at your house, I'm so sorry. I wish that it wasn't.
Yeah, that's the sad part.
Well, that's where it begins, doesn't it? It begins at home. How did you get to be where you are, though? Because you do describe yourself as a body love activist, but how did you get there? What does it mean? Because I feel like the majority of the questions that I got when I put that out to our audience was people they asked, like, well, yeah, how do you get to that point of loving your body just the way it is?
I don't think we can discount the importance of what we see on social media. I think having a detoxed feed where you only see people who make you feel good about yourself, and that doesn't have to be just about how you look, but it is important that when you see people who have aspirational bodies, I'm using quote marks for anyone that can't see because this is a podcast, obviously, but the idea that people who share things about their bodies, you too can be like me if you just eat this, drink this, do this, etc. Following those people is going to make you feel a certain kind of way yourself. So I don't recommend it. And I think also the idea that you have to at some point, and I've done this, work through the fact that you genuinely cannot believe the things that other people say about you, but more so you can't believe the things that you've said to yourself about yourself.
Yes.
Because that messaging comes from as young as kids watching Bluey about what's a good body, about what it means to be healthy. I think, lots of the conversations in those same comments talked about, oh, yes, but I'm all for body positivity, but. Well, when you say but, that tells me you don't actually understand what body positivity is supposed to mean. It's not about the old classic, and I apologies in advance to anyone who hates this word as much as I do, promoting obesity. I think that, what does that even look like? What does that mean? to think about the fact that we're not a club. We're not trying to recruit people. Like, that's not what being fat is about. Being a fat person who loves yourself is about realizing that it's not actually the reason you were put on earth to look good for other people to look at. And I think I had to come through every single part of disordered eating and internalized fat phobia and just regular fat phobia when I lost weight in the past and became someone who was able to shop in more mainstream stores, and the way that I felt about other fat people and thinking, oh, they should try what I've done to lose weight, rather than thinking I should try minding my business. And I think that it's really important that we acknowledge that even in the community of fat people, there is also, experiences that vary. There are going to be people who see themselves as fat, but only comparatively to thin people, whereas people who are actually fat. So if we look at people who are in a sort of the super fat category, and I know for some people will hear that term and go, you can't call someone super fat. That is actually a term that's used in the fat community. Fat liberation means understanding that being fat's not a bad thing. So if you can call someone super tall, you can also call them super fat, because that's just a description or an explanation based on numbers, right? So for people who are, you imagine a scenario where someone's discriminated against on an aeroplane or at the doctor's surgery or just in public by the fashion industry. In all the ways, obviously that experience increases in both danger in terms of bad health outcomes for people who are fat, and in morale and therefore mental health for those kind of more public shame experiences. And obviously the smaller you get, even as a fat person, so I'm a size 18 to 20, more 20 these days, but I know that for someone who wears a size 26 or a size 32, those people have a significantly different experience from me. I can't speak for them, but I can speak for myself and say, you need to listen to what I'm saying, and then, it's kind of like you pass through the door, right? You level up in terms of your fat liberation and your activism and your caring about other people. But that starts with caring about yourself and loving yourself. Angie, I've met you in real life, and you are much shorter than me, much smaller than me in every single way, but someone who looks like you and has your lived experience with bodies, noting that we also know that that's vastly different to what people might assume about you based on one glance at you, that you have to be in a space to feel good about and accepting of your body before you can listen to a message from me or someone fatter than me or someone who experiences other marginalizations like disability, someone who's a dark-skinned person of colour or an Indigenous person. And so the vast array of experiences, there's one thing that we've all got in common, and that is we've all been subjected to marketing and messaging around bodies and what's acceptable and what's good, and we need to smash those stereotypes.
Yeah.
Amen.
That's so true. Oh,
Talked for a long time without stopping.
That was,
sorry.
No.
Take a breath. That was brilliant. Thank you so much.
That was brilliant.
It was so good. In an interview that you wrote for SBS, there's a quote I just want to say and ask you a bit about it. You said, I tell people often that your body is the least interesting thing about you. This is something that, I say about myself all the time. Though when you think about it, what privilege I have to say so, which I think you meant, what privilege do I have to say so, when people with darker skin than mine or visible differences / disabilities have their body and appearance made the one thing everyone seems to notice about them. Can I ask you a bit more about that? And can you explain the difference between, or where body positivity came from, and the difference between body positivity as it is now and body acceptance, which is what we seem to be moving more into?
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, I wanted to call out the fact that even while saying these things of being like, love yourself in the way that love yourself as a person, nurture yourself, have grace for yourself, be kind to yourself. We're not just saying like, I accept my lumps and bumps, although also do that if you can. It's not necessarily the only thing that you need to do. You also need to really work on understanding what your privilege is in a situation, and that's what I was really wanting to acknowledge, that it's easy to say as someone with lighter brown skin, someone who's always gotten compliments for my tan, and as someone who still is able to have quite good access to fashion and that kind of thing, that though I have lots of experiences that have really shaped who I am and my passion and my fury for this subject, it also means that I can't even begin to imagine what the lived experience would be like for someone who's fat but also has a disability, has a visible difference, is a dark-skinned person of colour. And so I really wanted to call that out, and I think that relates directly also to understanding, as you've asked, Yvie, that body positivity was started in the 60s as a movement towards fat acceptance. So the origins of this whole idea of body positivity start with what we're talking about right now, not about, I mean, I love that mainstream beauty companies are kind of inviting us to really love ourselves and look past the photoshopped and the criticised and the so on. But I think that it's really important not to overlook the fact that the origins of this movement are political and they relate directly to the treatment of fat people, especially the movement was really started by queer black femmes in the 60s and originates in a number of different things, but most specifically knowing that body positivity isn't body acceptance. Body acceptance is a part of a movement that was called body positivity, and those words have been co-opted and the meaning of them, the colloquial meaning of them, changed so that people don't understand, which is how we get sentences that start with, I'm all about body positivity, but, because there's no but. When you want liberation and access to healthcare and human rights for people, there's no but. So I think people are saying, I'm all about loving the skin you're in. I'm all about use whatever hashtag, whatever slogan from whatever campaign for over the last 20 years while we tried to move away from Eurocentric beauty standards. But that's not what body positivity is. And that's why fat liberation as a phrase has come about, to try to point more towards what that movement was supposed to be. Because like lots of things, once the mainstream media and white wellness bloggers get a hold of something, they usually turn it into something that means completely, not necessarily the opposite, but just the cherry-picked parts of it. And I think we look at people who sell wellness and we go, well, yeah, but you're only selling it to people that look like you anyway. So it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
Body positivity in its original form was for everyone. It benefits everyone. And you lose nothing by being a supporter and an ally to fat people.
Yeah. And another thing I saw too, because a lot of people said, what's the difference between body positivity and body acceptance? And I read somewhere that body acceptance is like, you can still say love your body, but have days where, like everybody, you don't feel great about it or you feel shit or whatever it is. But also the focus is more on the body's abilities and non-physical. Do you believe that, or is it kind of body acceptance is accepting all of the things?
I really think that I think that body acceptance is probably another one of those phrases that's trying to explain its place. And so I think body acceptance is about,
'cause it's quite
more
new.
about self, and it is about and acceptance being more of a, because we know acceptance and tolerance and inclusion are three totally different things, but it does feel a lot sometimes like body acceptance is trying to moonlight as one of the other things when it's really not. And I think that being tolerated is not the same as feeling included. And so also I've taken... Yeah, I think, it's different in every scenario, of course, but I've taken the lead a little bit from two of my amazing friends, Sarah and Ellie. Ellie Demarchelier was the person who spoke on the All About Women panel that I recently appeared at and talked about body neutrality. Yeah. And also Sarah, she appeared on the SBS Insight episode, and she has 2 prosthetic legs. And so both of them have talked about how body neutrality is helpful to them, because body acceptance and body positivity in the way that we usually understand it, in that like kind of love yourself regardless of how you actually feel, that faux toxic positivity kind of love. Body neutrality feels way more accessible to people who, when you talk about accepting the body and its abilities, whose also their abilities don't kind of necessarily fit in with the normal, quote unquote, normal body stereotype. Right? So I think body neutrality is about understanding that your body exists, and so does your soul, and so does your mind. And so you are a person who's deserving of everything that's accessible to anyone else, regardless of your body shape, mass, size, abilities, gender, race, and so on. And so body neutrality, I feel like, is again, though, just another word that we've come up with to explain what body positivity used to mean, because we were confused about what it used to mean. And I think instead of trying to force people to go, no, you're wrong, it doesn't mean that, it means this. It's about teaching people that whatever you call it, you know, a rose by any other name, as long as we have access to human rights, call it what you want.
Yeah.
But be on board with it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that makes sense. I feel like maybe they threw in the acceptance more too, because it's like it comes with that toxic positivity thing. It's like, well, you should just be happy. It's like, well, no, you know what? Some days I'm not going to be happy about A, B, C, D. So I'm going to be accepting of it. But still, yeah, I do know what you mean. I do understand why they probably did want to change the word, because I think if people had days where they were like, oh, I hate the way I look, then they feel like they wouldn't be part of the, you know, body positivity. But yeah.
Right. And I mean,
it makes
Angie,
sense to me.
For you, as someone whose body sometimes lets you down, you're an endo sufferer.
Yeah.
You experience times where your body acts in a way that you're like, I am not in control of any of what's happening to my body right now.
Yes.
And I know, right? But you accept that that's part of it. I think that kind of mindset of being able to go, I still am happy to be here, and I still want other people
I
to
love
experience.
you, but yes.
Yeah.
That's such a beautiful way to look at it, actually. That's a perfect way to describe it. It's like you're accepting of your body. Not every day you're going to be happy because you're only human, but you still love it and you deserve, you know, to have fun, to wear the clothes, to eat the foods, to do the exercise, to do whatever you want, the same as everybody else.
Absolutely.
I saw a question before that I was really wanted to ask you, April. Do you think with body positivity, is there different meanings for different genders?
Oh, that's an interesting question. No, I would think, I think obviously we've talked a little bit about bandits. So, you know, that's a dad who's affected by body image messaging. But I think more broadly, we know that all genders are subject to it, right? Because there's Chris Hemsworth and there's Zac Efron and there's all these people. And then we go, oh, no, now the dad bod's a thing. Sorry, what? I think that we know that mask-presenting people experience the same feeling of being subject to body image, perfection and that kind of thing. We just also know that the patriarchy reinforces messaging around worth and value to women about things as well as their appearance. And so that experience of whether or not you've got a good body as someone who's mass-presenting, femme-presenting, or someone who kind of is androgynous, because I know that there's no real one way to look at any gender, so I think it's more important to talk about, when we're talking about body image, it's definitely more about physique, talking about how men should have this, that, the other thing, and then women should look a certain way, what's in and what's out. I think that there's no escape, no matter what gender you are, there's no escape from being told, if you want to look like this, a masculine person, you should also have a chiseled jaw or large shoulders or a six-pack. And, you know, if you're a woman, you can't be too muscular, but you shouldn't be too thin, but you also shouldn't be too fat. What?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Nah, it's never ending. But do you think, though, you know how dad bods are generally looked at as like a sexy thing, but then when you say mum bods, what is a mum bod? I bet you people would instantly be like, oh, mum bod's somebody that's had a baby and they're not fit. But dad bods, it's like, oh, hot dad bods. Like, why? What? Well, obviously we know why, but what's your stance on that?
I think that the idea of a dad bod, there's a couple of things, and I'm kind of almost unpacking this in real time. So come on a journey with me, why don't you? Because I think the idea is actually about the idea of a dad bod indicates potentially a personality type, whereas the hype and bask Baywatch thing indicates, okay, do I want to date a gym bro or a guy who's going to take care of me and eat pasta with me, right? Because that's the kind of binary thinking around what bodies are like. You know? And so when we, and also, if you're a fat person who's ever been to a gym, you have probably met those gym bros that we're talking about, the people who give a bad name to people who are just there lifting stuff and putting it down again. So I think that the idea between dad bods are sexy because they give off a sense of someone who's nurturing, who potentially might not care as much about what you look like because they're not hyper-focused on their own body, which is not necessarily true. I'm sure there are people out there with dad bods who I've met who have very interesting ideas about what the female physique or the feminine physique should look like, even though they themselves are definitely not bothered about their own. And that's patriarchy, baby. And so I think my take, I think I agree with you, Angie. The idea of a mum bod is someone who has, quote unquote, let themselves go. And it's sort of like, okay, but when a dad has a dad, or a man or a masc person has a dad,
he's just got natural.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
His body's doing what it's supposed to naturally do, but she's let herself go.
That's
right.
So
he spends
true.
less time in the gym.
That was another question that
me.
popped up too. Yes. That's what somebody else said on in my messages. They were like, why is there so many derogatory terms and put downs for women? Like, I can't think of them now, but let's just say like saddlebags or like
mum tum,
two kids fighting under a blanket.
Lady arms.
Yeah, there's all these things that you say about.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, get them. Shake what the frickin' mamas made us, or whatever the saying is. But she listed all these names, and I was like, oh my God. And I couldn't think of any about men. And I was like, that's the thing. From such a young age, we just start slam dunking women, and then we grow up with all these terms that we're called when we hit, puberty, and then when we get gain weight.
Yep.
Yes,
comes with sexuality, comes with
and it's like you're having sex with each other.
They are good.
That it's like this guy and this girl, and he's calling her a slut, and all his friends are calling him a slut. I'm like, but they're having sex with each other.
Oh, yes.
So what's the difference?
Yeah. It's like, how are you not the same right now? Like, what's going on here?
Exactly.
That's so true.
Yep. God, yes. Like, they get called a fox, and we get called a bitch.
Women only exist to perform hotness, right? Or to be domestic goddesses, or whatever it is. Yep. And I think the idea that one man can hold the interest of a collective of people for such a long period of time versus having to have a new hot, fit woman, who's the new it girl, is an interesting thought. And I think when it comes to bodies, those trends of who's hot directly correlate with what bodies are trending. So if we look at, the ultimate keeper-uppers of body trends, the Kardashians, they have changed over time so much around what they do, what they advertise, what they talk about. And it's so they are, I think, the setters of body trends, and I'm really happy to see lots of people talking about the fact that they're not aspirational and that we don't need to continue to follow trends. It's your body is for you, it's unique. And I think clothing and fashion and makeup trends are one thing, but bodies are not a trend.
No, that's actually such a perfect message, because one of the other questions I was going to ask you is somebody said when I put the question out to my followers that somebody said body positivity feels like a personally unreachable goal. What advice would you give to someone who's struggling with this? And I think you saying bodies aren't a trend is one of the peak messages, but what else would you say to somebody who feels like it's an unachievable goal to really love their body?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that nobody, even me, and I say even me, there are other people out there talking about body positivity, but as someone who literally spends every day thinking about and talking about the ways that we need to get away from the messages that we received in our youth and even now about bodies, sometimes you're going to be feeling crap about yourself. Like, that's the reality. And I think the reason that body positivity feels unachievable is because we've turned it into this idea of being happy with yourself all the time. I think if we think about body love, body acceptance, self-love, body positivity as kind of a big, delightfully caramel-covered gelatinous mess of body things, in there's always room for being like, oh, this is what I'm working with today. I'm not loving it. Maybe I'll think about something else. Maybe I'll try not to talk to myself badly today. Maybe I'll try to speak to myself as if I'm someone else that I love.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's brilliant. We've run out of time, but I've got one last question for you, and this is your chance to give a little bit of a shout out. You inspire us, and you inspire me particularly every single day. I think about you every single day.
Oh, that's such a sweet thing to say to someone.
Well, you and Clem are my people that I go, what would
they do
Clem or April do?
Yeah.
Like, what would they do if they were in this situation?
We'd smash the patriarchy, Yvie. That's what we'd do.
An oath we would.
Yes.
smashing it. My question to you is then, who inspires you?
This is a big one. Do you know, I think the people who inspire me most, I can't name one person. I'm really lucky that I have friends and people I'm connected with online who inspire me every day. And I think to name just one would do a disservice to the incredible work of all the people that I know. But
You can name as many as you want.
The list goes on. I think that people who are so engaged and so ready to be vulnerable, those people inspire me. And I think my friend Katie Parrott recently launched her label, Ecclestone the Label, and it's an amazing inclusive brand which I shopped and I'm obsessed with, waterwork, and everyone was like, oh, I like your outfit. I was like, I bet you do. And so I think people who follow through on the things that they talk about, and Katie's one of those people. I think that all of my friends in the fat and plus size community who work really hard to be the people that they needed to see when they were young, and also the people in my real life who come to me and go, what do you think about this? Or, hey, I read this thing and I've been thinking about it. People who are engaged and caring about each other, no matter whether they've got a platform on the internet or the person that lives next door to me, people who care about other people inspire me and make me feel like there's hope for this bloody planet yet.
Yeah, there really
That
is.
was such a good
great
answer.
Thank you.
You're so good with your answers. Seriously, your brain. I want to live in it for like for as long as you'd let me.
There's a lot of
actually.
stuff up
I'd be
there. A lot
greedy.
of meaningless garbage up there. Simpsons quotes. Just
I feel like we could talk to you for like 3,000 years, but unfortunately we cannot.
3,000
But we do want to say that we are so grateful to have you on the podcast. Very blessed. So happy. We want you to come back whenever you can. And we just bloody love you. We truly do. And also, where can we find you / follow you?
I think if you keep your eye out, Channel 10, The Project, you'll probably see me soon. And you can also watch that SBS episode we talked about if you haven't seen it on their app, of course. And if you want to follow me, it's The Bodzilla, because I'm not a Bodzilla, I'm The Bodzilla. Instagram, I guess Facebook, if anybody's still using that. And I look forward to connecting with all of your lovely listeners.
You're the
thank you
best.
so much.
Thank you, girl. We love you.
April. Thank you for your time.
I love you so much. Oh, you're welcome.
All right, well, that was so good. I feel like oh my gosh, my brain. So much, like such a smart, beautiful, intelligent woman. And even in person, she just lights up an entire room.
she
We're very
really
grateful to
does.
have her on.
She's warm. Do you feel her warmth?
very
She's
warm.
like f***ing sunshine. And she
Oh,
is just
news.
She's just blowing those rays down on us.
Yes.
And I feel the warmth of her. And I love to bathe in the warmth of April.
You're glowing from it even.
I am. We'll not be doing useless facts again this week, so don't worry. They will be coming back. They're saving up. If you have any, please let us know. If you loved the show today, please go and follow April, the Bodzilla. It is worth it, and share her. Share her with everyone you know. Most people already know who she is, but we hope that you got a little bit more about her if you didn't know enough. Rate and review us. Tell us how wonderful we are. We love it because we're just big lovos like that. Email us at twogirls@novaentertainment.com.au, and we love it. And lastly, we want to say this together, and we're going to say it really quickly because we have been saying it for years. 1, 2, 3. Have the day you deserve.
Have the day that you deserve. Oh, okay. Anyway. See ya.
Love you all.